Welcome to the PHNX Tailgate. One another day. We got fucking Darth Shane over here. I don't know what he's doing.
Get your feet off the table.
You're right. You know, like,
Come
Jesus,
on.
he's got his New Balances on. And you think he can lounge back like he's he
Okay.
just came in from mowing the grass. Anyway, let's roll the intro.
Shane Diefenbach, Little Minds Preschool, Spelling Bee champion.
Johnny Venerable, Chittix Junior High School, Normal, Illinois.
Saul Bookman, Mare Elementary School. Go Wildcats.
Look, last night I realized something, and that was that I'm the man.
No, no,
And Johnny's a baby.
no. For those of you at home that think this is all glitz and glamour and fancy shit, no, it's not. I have to put up with this asshole 7 days a week. He comes in here at, this is a studio. We like to keep it well kept. Literally just rolled out of Old Town, came in here, plopped his ass down. I brought him a coffee this morning. He doesn't have the courtesy to take his shoes off the table, remove his hood. This is a program not for you, but for them.
This feels like it's getting personal. And I feel like you just got scolded by Dad.
Yeah.
Take some pride in your
Anyway,
work.
this is the PHNX PHNX Tailgate presented to you by DraftKings Sportsbook, the DraftKings Sportsbook app. Look at me, I'm fumbling over my words. Where if you just bet $1 on any football game and your team wins, you will get $100 back in free bets. It's just that simple. So, what's not simple is the college football playoff.
No.
That was a horrible transition from what just was happening to this, but I felt like, we definitely had like somebody just got smacked at the dinner table kind of vibe, and I wanted to move on from it. So, because that made me feel uncomfortable. College football playoff is absolute chaos right now, mostly because Ohio State completely crapped the bed yesterday and got just mollywopped by Michigan. Cincinnati remains undefeated, much to Johnny's dismay. Georgia's undefeated. Alabama barely got away from Auburn yesterday, and we were watching that game. I still can't believe Auburn choked that one away. Total overall thoughts. Let's just do this. You have 4 teams. After next weekend's set of games, who do we think is in the college football playoff?
I'm happy to go first. I think the Georgia Bulldogs will be in the top 4.
Win or lose.
Win or lose.
Yep.
They're predetermined. I think Michigan gets in. I think they'll take care of business against an Iowa team that tries to do the same thing they're going to do, but far less effective. They don't have the NFL caliber players that Michigan does. I think that Alabama still gets in. I think we've got 2 SEC teams. I reluctantly say that I think Cincinnati is going to get in. If it was up to me, I would not put them in. I would put in Oklahoma State or a team that I followed all throughout this season. As you guys know, I'm very up to date on Oklahoma State. Or I would put in Ohio State.
So you think Alabama's gonna, if they beat Georgia, they're in?
I think they could lose and still get in.
You think a 2-loss Alabama team could get in when they just think about it like this: if they lose to Georgia, then they turn right back around and probably play Georgia all over again.
Yep.
And the CFP ain't going to go for that. There's just no way.
I think
you haven't thought this through. I could tell it already. I was ready for this. I was ready for this Alabama bullshit to come out of Johnny's mouth this morning. I promise you.
I think the CFP recognizes the eliteness of the SEC.
They're not elite. They have 3 good teams.
I think the college football playoff acknowledges that if we allow Cincinnati,
Florida was a top 15 team to start the season, and they're shit right now.
I think if
they're overrated.
The college football playoff allows Cincinnati to come in. It's like when you're at the club, right? And you allow some of the lesser tier people to get into the club. You say, okay, be happy that you're here. Sit your ass down in the way back. So if they have like a live performance or something, they scan the audience. They don't see this on camera, right? They put Cincinnati's ass in the way back, right? Be thankful. It's all about being thankful here at PHNX during the holiday season. Cincinnati, be thankful is the number 4 seed. If they get in, regardless, they should not bitch about their seeding, right? And the committee's going to say, they'll slap their little hand away, their little bear cat claw, and they'll say, get away. We're going to put Bama number 3. You're going to like it. Now, the only way that it's their saving grace, that being Cincinnati, is if they get the 3 seed and they get to play Michigan. Michigan typically, yesterday's an outlier. They don't blow people out. They don't have a big explosive offense. So Cincinnati could probably look the part for a quarter, maybe a half against Michigan before Michigan runs away. Whereas if Cincinnati plays an SEC team, pray for their families. Pray for their families and their loved ones because they will get trampled. I do not believe they will score against Alabama and or Georgia if they have to play one of those
Alabama
two
could barely score against Auburn yesterday.
teams. NFL players versus NFL players, elite level coaching at the highest level of college football. And then you've got legitimately the future like sandwich makers of America,
You
people
are
who
so dramatic.
people who sell
Sandwich.
insurance, right? People who are going to be managing retail stores, good people.
And apparently people that will be co-hosting on PHNX Tailgate starting next week.
Look. This Cincinnati team is like a small man at a concert that can't
Stop
see the
taking
stage.
my analogies.
That can't see the stage because he's too small and he lives in Maricopa. And
This feels personal now. I don't know where you're getting at.
no,
Feels
I
very familiar right
I
now.
agree with your top three if everything stays. But the Alabama thing, if they lose to Georgia, I think Cincinnati gets that 4 spot if they can handle business against Houston in the AAC championship.
No guarantee there.
No guarantee there at all.
There's no guarantee with any of these conference championship
exactly.
games.
So it's all going to depend on this last week. Obviously, Notre Dame can sneak in, Oklahoma State can sneak in. There's so much that can go on, and there's so much chaos that's going to ensue.
This is what's going to happen.
Okay, here we go.
I'm telling you for a fact, this
Okay,
is what's going to
please tell
happen. Georgia's absolutely going to destroy Alabama. Alabama's gone. There's no way they're getting into the CFP. Cincinnati's going to squeak in, but the only reason why Cincinnati's going to squeak in is because of their big win over Notre Dame earlier in the year, because Notre Dame has that one loss on the season, and it just happens to be Cincinnati. And you can't feasibly tell me that one matters more than the other. Like, no. Undefeated Cincinnati already beat your ass. Keep your ass at home.
There's
Notre Dame.
no way Notre Dame jumps Cincinnati unless
I wouldn't say no way.
There's just no, because Notre Dame also has not played anybody this year. If you're going to go that route, so if you look at both of their resumes, okay, they played some decent teams in their schedule, but they still got their ass whooped at home by Cincinnati.
If I am somebody looking at Notre Dame's resume, they put legitimate programs, not this year, but you schedule, if you're an athletic director, you schedule games out 2 to 3 years in advance.
No,
that's
like
how it works.
it's like 8 to 10 years.
8 to 10 years.
I was at Kansas State when they scheduled their home and home with U of A, which doesn't even start for another 2 years.
So go do me a favor, go look at Notre Dame's schedule and just read off the programs. They may not be viable this year, but I have respect for them because they put them on their schedule. I do not have respect for a team in a conference that plays. I mean, did you that score I sent you yesterday of the 27-20 win for
Against Navy,
Cincinnati,
like
against
2 months
Navy?
ago.
I can't get past
Cool.
that. I can't get past it.
They still beat Notre Dame at Notre Dame.
I feel like that was a COVID. Have we gotten confirmation? Was that a COVID game?
No, it
They
was
have a
not
bunch
a
of
COVID
COVID
game.
games. A
Jesus
bunch of players
Christ.
out.
Also, on top of that, like, you're going to sit there and tell me that you're going to put Notre Dame into the playoff before Oklahoma State, who might beat Baylor, who's number 8 in the country right now, and for the second time? Like, there's just no way. That's my 4.
Okay.
That's my 4. Oklahoma State gets in, and I think, and I do agree with this, Cincinnati might end up being the 4 seed in all of this because strength of schedule, when you're breaking down the 4 teams that you think are going to be in, does matter.
Yeah.
I will give you that. So I think you're going to have Georgia versus Cincinnati, and so I'm happy to see that. I don't give a shit if it's 70-7, like my Wildcats last year. I still want Cincinnati is the lone undefeated team outside of Georgia. They get in. Otherwise, why even do this? Because an outside of the Power 5 conferences, you will never have a shot to get in. No matter what your schedule says, no matter what you do, you will just never have a chance to get
Cincinnati going to the Big 12?
Yeah.
So, like, just wait a year or two and try to put together a big boy season in a real conference, and then we'll let you in. But you just made a point. If it's 70-7 in the first round of the playoff, you failed as a committee. If you're putting a team in that's going to lose 70-7, I don't care how good
They're
this
not
Georgia
going to
team.
lose 70-7. I'm just using that as a point.
I think I think they will legitimately have a chance to be shut out in that game.
I think you legitimately
Georgia.
underrate Cincinnati. Of course you do.
We're just going to let the chips fall where they may.
Also, Iowa Hawkeye fans, get out of everybody's mentions. There's no way you're making the CFP. Shut the fuck up and move on.
Let me ask you this: where do you think the playoff committee is going to put Ohio State right now this week?
Ohio State?
Yeah.
Like 7. They'll probably lose ground to Notre Dame, to Oklahoma State. They'll be down there with Oklahoma. I don't really want to watch the Big 12 in the Final Four either. That's the problem with this is just I want competitive games. And the Big 12 historically has not been competitive outside of Kyler Murray's year and Baker Mayfield's year with Oklahoma. The Pac-12 keeps screwing everybody because I do think Oregon would have a good showing in the playoff. They just can't get out of their own way in their own conference. And I know it's supposed to be the teams that are the four most deserving teams, not the four best teams. I have a problem with that.
I think they are voting on whether or not to speed up the CFP expansion.
Yeah.
Here soon to I think 8.
It needs to be 8, man.
It needs to be 8. And I've been saying this for a decade.
Yeah.
8 teams. It's not that hard. You have 5 of your Power 5 conference champions.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you have those 5, and then you have 3 at large, which includes at least 1 non-Power 5 representative.
So you give at-large bids automatically to Power 5 conference winners. So if Iowa, in this hypothetical, 8 teams, Iowa wins the Big Ten at whatever 10-2 or whatever.
Automatic bid.
Okay,
Yep,
I don't have a problem with that.
Almost like the NCAA tournament, for basketball.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with that.
When all the league conference winners get the automatic bid, and you can determine that as a league, what you wanted to. Who you want to reward? Do you want to reward the regular season champion, or do you want to reward a playoff champion? I think that's the smartest way to go. Because listen, I could only imagine if we were friends back in the day, there, Johnny, when Oklahoma with Adrian Peterson had to play Boise State, you would have thought Boise State has no damn chance in the world. But they found a way to do it, and they still beat them. And I know it just absolutely riles you up. It's no different than Gonzaga, okay? Gonzaga in men's basketball. For years, they've been able to prove it in the NCAA tournament and build their program up to a point where now they're a legit national championship contender. It took 10 years, but you never get that chance in football. You never, ever get that chance in football. And that's the problem with the
Boise State argument is so tired and old. That was like 20 years ago. How many outliers have they been since then? Watch those Colt Brennan Hawaii teams, RIP Colt Brennan, that got their ass kicked. They would go like undefeated in their conference and play a real team. They play like Georgia in like the Orange Bowl and get destroyed. Those outlier scenarios with Boise State, I can't. First of all, Chris Peterson, big time head coach, right? They had some NFL talent, and Oklahoma was not playing for a national championship. By and large, like their season was over. They were just playing a throwaway bowl game at that point.
But they still had Adrian Peterson, and it wasn't a throwaway bowl game. It was the Fiesta Bowl.
They weren't. They thought they were national contenders. If they had been put in a playoff scenario, I think it would have been different.
I disagree. Oh, anyway, Shane, any other thoughts?
No, I'm just enjoying this. And I also, I'd be remiss if I didn't give a shout out to Kellen Moore. I love Kellen Moore.
Kellen Moore,
Boise State
that's
teams.
Right.
Kellen Moore
He also destroyed Virginia Tech.
He's killing it in the NFL right
He's
now.
one of the best college football players the last 20 years.
Kellen Moore?
Mm-hmm. Well, just from a college standpoint, not an NFL prospect, but he was a great college player.
He was incredible. Cover of NCAA football 2006, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
There you go. All right. Well, the NFL is about to start week 12.
Yeah.
It's kind of weird that we don't have a game today. It's been a while since we had like yes, it is a bottle of whiskey there, Lodestone Capone. It's kind of weird that we don't have a game today. Let's just surmise the Cardinals season so far. We'll get to the Cardinals at the end of the show too, but if you had to kind of put a label on the first 11 games of the Cardinals season, what would it be?
Oh man, that they are led by an elite up and coming head coach. Even more so than if I would have thought before the season they would have told me they were 9-2. I'd say Kyler Murray is the runaway MVP, and he's having a Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes type season. He's having a good season. He's also missed 3 games. He's had some inconsistent games. Cliff Kingsbury is the story of this team this year. He is an ascending NFL play caller, NFL head coach. Large reason they're 9-2. The infrastructure, the culture that they've built. You know, all these free agents that have been brought in by Steve Keim, who's in the running for executive of the year, he can only do so much. And then you give him to a head coach like Cliff Kingsbury, and you can kind of maximize and absorb everything together and merge everything and make it this product. I think this season, by and large, has been Cliff Kingsbury's ascension, and you love to see that because, to me, that has to be just as sustainable as Kyler Murray's greatness. You're not going to have sustainable success in the desert. Look at Seattle. They've got Russell Wilson, but Pete Carroll is crumbling, and that team is suffering as a result. The LA Rams, Stafford, looks like kind of a broken product now. If the Cardinals can get elite head coaching in combination with their quarterback play, they're going to have not only a special season this year, but it's just the building block for the next 5 to 10 years becomes that much more sustainable.
There's a couple things some places where they weren't supposed to be as good, they're overperforming. Their secondary has been so good, and it looks like it's sustainable. But the other thing that I'm interested to see past this year is what they do with the money, who they choose to, or where they decide to put that money, because Christian Kirk's probably going to walk, go somewhere to get a big contract, and they have to pay some people. So what's this team going to look like next year? Are they going to have this young core in the secondary still, or are they going to kind of come back down to earth on defense?
It's so funny because at the beginning of the season, I think I was on board with you about Christian Kirk, but the more and more this season has gone on, the more and more I'm like, not so fast. Because can you even remember the last time he made a big play? Like it's been a while.
San Francisco. When he had the throwback pass, and a couple nice,
but that's a design play as opposed to him actually making something happen on his own volition. You know what I mean? So
but Kenny Golladay was able to get a bag and on the Giants. I mean, I don't think he's gonna have trouble.
Well, it's funny you mentioned that. I wrote an article last night for our website, gophnx.com, taking a pulse of the bye week free agents to be for the Cardinals this offseason. Can either you guys guess what Spot Track has projected for Christian Kirk next offseason?
In terms of what?
Annual dollars per year that he's going to be making. His salary per year.
I would say 11.
15?
Yeah, it's 13. So
right in the middle.
Yeah. So, and that could go up conceivably with the inflation of the cap that's not pandemic restricted. So Cardinals going to pay Christian Kirk $50 million a year?
No.
Probably not.
No. Is he worth $50 million a year?
Probably not.
There you go. There's your answer. So if I had to put a label on this Cardinals team right now, I would just say consistent. I think they've been the most consistent team in the NFL by far. The way they have been able to perform despite some of the hiccups that they've had, honestly, it's a testament to their program right now. Monty Williams always talks about the program. And though Cliff Kingsbury doesn't really use those words, it's still the same kind of mantra. All the guys, when they talk about, this, that, or the other, it's always the same kind of, hey, this is what we expect. When we talked to Christian Kirk at the card trading place, he was very consistent about that as well. And I just think that kind of feeds itself after a little while. It's kind of the Patriot way, if you will, and how they've kind of built their whole program. And you love to see it. Yeah. You love to see it. And Kyler's, inadvertently, he's going to be the head of that outside of Cliff Kingsbury. So as long as he's all in and understands like the method to the madness, then I think everything's going to be good, and they're in good hands for the foreseeable future.
You know what? It's funny. I look at this team this year, and I honestly believe, as somebody who covers the team, I try to be objective. I think they're the best team in the NFL based on their margin for error, based on the fact they've won all the road games by double digits. Even how great that team was in 2015, I always felt Carolina was better. Carolina had the better record. They had a better quarterback, the MVP, and they lost to Carolina in the NFC title game. When they went to the Super Bowl, I don't think anybody thought in 2008 they had the best team. This is the first time, I think, maybe in the history of Arizona Cardinal football, that they will have, I think, the best team in the entire NFL entering the playoffs if they can sustain this. And it's not a flash in the pan. It's 11 games in. I know they lost to the Packers. I think that was an outlier game where they did not play well, and the Packers were kind of playing with house money because they knew they didn't have certain players. So I think the Cardinals would play the Packers much more competitively, and I just think they have a better team. So I feel confident saying this is the best team in the NFL. Now, what that looks like in January, who knows? Yeah. But it's just a different feeling.
Well, when you look at this team and you think of what makes teams like this great and why they're able to play so well, and you look at some of the things that they have that a lot of NFL teams want and need, and you look at some of the best teams to ever play in the NFL, and they have these things. They have a quarterback who you're not paying a ton of money because of rookie contracts. They have a running back who I can't get over the fact that people still pay running backs, max money. It just doesn't make sense to me. And those positions help. When you're not paying your skill players everything and you have money to sprinkle everywhere else, and then you're getting your secondary, as we said, who's young and overperforming, and you're getting pressure from different guys every game, that's what makes good teams great. And that's why I think they're really, really getting it together this year.
You know, we'll get to the Cardinals at the end of the show. Like I said, I also have a question for you to propose in that fourth segment. But in the meantime, let's go ahead and move on to the one, the only. Survey says Cerveza Leah, our producer behind the Mac, is going to take control of this ship. Leah, what you got?
All right. So since the Cardinals are on a bye week, I was thinking about like trips and vacations, and I was just thinking, let's just get to know each other and what you, what you guys would do on vacation. So that's the theme of this week's Survey Says Cerveza. So first question. If you were given $1 million and you had to spend it all on one vacation, what would you do? And you can't come back until it's all spent. Oh,
man. I would go buck wild.
I got mine.
Aren't you doing that for Disney World with your wedding?
It feels like I'm spending $1 million. I'll tell you that much right now. You guys want to answer first, or you want me to go?
Go ahead.
I would rent a yacht out in the Amalfi Coast and just sit in that fucking water forever until all my money ran out, and then I'd come back.
Yeah, if you're not doing water, you're not doing this right.
Yeah.
There are those. Have you ever seen those hotels where it has like a glass bottom and it's like in the ocean?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I want to get one of those.
They have them at Sandals Resorts. I've actually looked at those.
So I want to do one of those, get a boat, spend it a lot of the time in the water. But the biggest thing, I want to get in a fucking submersible, go down really deep in the ocean and see some shit. That's like, yeah.
Let's go see the Titanic.
Yeah. No, not the Titanic. Like I want to see some squid that can speak telepathically.
You're both wrong.
Oh my god!
How am I wrong about our own ideas and wants?
Non-sports takes.
I would holiday in Europe. I
would
go
holiday in Europe.
I would go to a Holiday Inn in Cleveland.
I would take a holiday overseas. I would do all the sightseeing. I'm one for experiences. I can do the beach. I enjoy the beach. I enjoy the water, but that gets old over the course of yes, I can. I used to be a lifeguard. I never had to save anybody though. Thank fucking God. And I would get bored after like 2 or 3 days. The same thing, mundane. I would bring friends and family. I'd go to like Tuscany, and I'd go to London, and I'd travel around in like a horse and buggy certain days. I get the full experience.
What the hell?
I'd live in a cottage for a little while. I'd live downtown Rome. I'd go to Florence. I'd do all that fun stuff.
I know you have the size, but are you actually Lord Farquaad?
I'm not.
My God.
God damn you.
I think I would go.
A horse and buggy. What is this? You want to go down to this? Oh my goodness. All right.
Diversify it up a little bit. You guys would get bored of your
No. You know what I like to do? I like to get butt naked and just hang out.
Oh God.
You know what I mean? If I could do that on the front of my yacht, it's even better. You know what I mean? There's nothing like the freedom of being outside naked.
Please don't scare any kids at Disney World with your behavior.
It's absolutely true.
Saul's gonna be at Epcot just hanging.
No. They actually banned music from like Michael Jackson and R. Kelly because of those reasons.
Oh Jesus!
Did you know that? At Disneyland or Disney World.
Wow.
Okay. Moving on to the next.
I said to get to know each other. I didn't know it was going to go that far. Yeah. All right. Well, this is kind of on the same subject, and I feel like 2 of you have answered, but I would like to know the reasons why. Would you rather have a yacht or a private jet?
Ooh.
And why?
Ooh.
Definitely.
That's actually hard.
Definitely a yacht.
Private jet.
What?
Dude, private jet by a fucking mile. How many? Do you understand what it's like? Okay, let me put this down.
Jesus.
Saul's getting animated.
Do you understand what it's like to go to the airport right now? It is awful. And then you gotta marshal yourself through all the swarm of people, especially during holiday season. It's probably one of the worst experiences of your life, going through that crowd of infected people that just don't want to wear a mask. And everybody's gonna get sick. It's just like gross. You know what I'd rather do? Because I got this experience. Luckily, when I was at Bally's, we had the Diamondbacks sponsor event, and so 2 people from all their sponsors could come and fly the team jet out to San Francisco, and we stayed out there for 4 days. It was beautiful. It was awesome. That was my first private flight experience. I never want to go back to anything else again. You know what? Every time I have to sit on that fucking airplane and they say, oh, put your tray tables up and put your bag underneath. Or you know how your bag is like maybe right up against your foot and they just sit there and they're like, sir, you need to put it underneath. Like on the Diamondbacks jet, when we were taking off, I didn't even have my seatbelt on and I could have just stood up. Like nobody gave nobody cared.
So I feel like
It's
you're the type of person on a plane where if you like there's a baby crying behind you, you're like
no, usually the baby's crying in front of me and I just
Well, there's a couple things I want to know about this question. Well, one thing with private jets is how damn expensive it is for gas.
don't worry about that.
Right. Are those amenities
We're not
covered?
getting into the logistics of
Okay.
it.
Then I'll
We're
go
not
private
breaking down.
jet.
You're Jeff Bezos. You don't have to worry about the money.
I agree that flying, especially right now, sucks ass. But a yacht is an experience thing that you can go out for months. A jet, you travel and then you get off and you're like, eh. Like it's fantastic. Don't get me wrong. I get that.
Yeah, because a yacht doubles as a place you can live
Yeah.
and work remotely. And you cannot do that on I mean, I guess you could just
They have
sit
this
on
thing
the
called
tarmac.
Wi-Fi on planes.
You could work remotely. No, like indefinitely. Like I'd have to eventually get off the plane and
Exactly.
do something and go pay my way through wherever I fly to.
Oh, you guys-
Where are you flying? Who
I'm
like
flying anywhere I damn well please.
and then who's paying for that when you get there? Where are you staying? Like Airbnbs or fucking like you staying like in the Midwest?
If I got my own private jet, I'm sure I could
See,
afford a
not in the-
Holiday
that's
Inn
not-
in Cleveland.
That's not built into this scenario.
Jesus. All right. Well,
Okay, last
once again, these two are wrong.
last one. You can't be wrong about this one because this is just facts. What's the best vacation you've ever been on?
Ooh. Man, that's tough.
My wife and I went to Rome. That was fun. I would definitely go back. We saw the Pope speak. And we saw this. Is it the 16th?
The Sistine
Chapel. I was gonna butcher that regardless. That was good.
You are a baby, man.
I went to. Shut up. This is my time, my story.
You just further proved my point. Everybody be quiet when I'm talking. I have the talking stick. I'm Johnny Venerable.
That was a fun abroad trip. Even though Shane tried to ruin my moment, you won't ruin it. What was your trip? Where'd mommy and daddy take you?
So I flew to
No, your family.
No, I flew by myself.
No.
To, one of one of my best friends is from Italy, and he moved back to Rome after our senior year of high school. So I went to go visit him. That was really fun. But I still think the most fun I've ever had are the Cabo trips that I would take in high school. Go there for like 6 days. Oh my God, the stories, the endless stories from those trips were so fun. Yeah, I think Cabo would probably be mine.
Cabo. All right. Man, honestly, like I just mentioned that D-backs trip, but I think the funnest trip I've probably ever been on. Actually, it wasn't really even that big of a deal. I went to Paris, and I actually went there for a basketball tournament, and played against like Croatia and other teams, and it was cool. But the coolest thing was we got like a whole day in Paris to like walk around and see the sights, and I got to see Notre Dame and stuff like that. But it was really cool because that was the first time I realized that like nudity was just an okay thing out there. And I was 16 at the time.
I'm into that.
Like I was 16 at the time, you know what I mean? Like, so I'm walking and like, just things are just, out there.
Hanging
and I was like, wow, I love Europe. This is pretty cool.
I would have never expected that public nudity came up 2 separate times for me on this show.
Both from Saul.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Well, maybe because of my experience in Paris at 16, I can appreciate just letting it all hang out at the age of whatever I am.
I literally thought that was on purpose and that you were tying together the nudity theme there.
No, it was actually completely accident.
Well, all right. Well, that's our little segment today.
All right.
Thanks for playing along.
Those are
All
good
right.
questions. I like
They
that.
are.
That was fun. Anyway, all right. So let's tap that app. It's time to pick our props, our locks, and our drops for Week 12 in the NFL. Johnny, we will start with you. What is your favorite prop of the day?
Favorite prop, I talked about it on our PHNX Daily Bet Show on Friday with this gremlin right here. I am all over Devontae Smith, first touchdown scorer. Giants, Eagles, plus 1,000 right now on the DraftKings Sportsbook app. He can testify. I've hit my last 2 first touchdown scores on Fridays. Via PHNX Daily Bets. I think Devontae Smith right now, one of the best young wide receivers in the NFL, having a tremendous rookie season. They don't like to throw the ball that much, that being the Philadelphia Eagles, but when they do, they target the rookie. I think that at the end of the day, it's either going to be he or Jalen Hurts that runs in the first score. You can also get Jalen at plus 800, which is really good value right now. The Giants team, I think, is dead and buried. They're talking about firing Dave Gettleman, cleaning the house. Philadelphia is like a sneaky team to make a little bit of a run at the NFC playoff picture. Devontae Smith, by and large, I think he was a way better prospect than Jalen Waddle. I don't know how he fell into the teens. Cardinals had interest. And yeah, I like him a lot, plus 1,000.
Yeah, it was the size thing. Everyone was so scared about his small frame. And
the Slim Reaper.
Yeah, and when he gets in space, man, he's so good.
Smooth.
I like that pick. I'm in the same game as you. Kenny Galladay's over-under on receiving yards is 53. I'm taking the under on that. I think that this game is going to be gross in terms of the Giants. I also like the under in this game. Division games later in the season are always weird like this, so I like that. Under 53 receiving yards for Kenny Galladay.
I like the over on Jonathan Taylor today against the Bucks. Rushing yards, 80.5. I like Jonathan Taylor. He's had a really good year so far. He also has a prop of over 22 yards receiving, which I also like. I couldn't decide which one I liked more, so I went ahead and went with the surefire. I know he's going to touch the ball enough.
Do we know if Vita Vea is playing in this game?
He is playing.
He is playing? Okay.
Yeah, he is. So, but I still like Jonathan Taylor. I think the Colts at home are a formidable test for the Bucks.
Yeah.
And so I like that game. My lock of the day is Minnesota versus San Francisco. I like the over on 49.5. When Minnesota plays on the road, 4 out of their last 5 games, they've scored over 29 points. And the lone game that they didn't, they scored 27. And then you combine that with San Francisco, whose pass defense is absolutely trash. And they've given up an average of 30 points at home the last 4 ball games at home. They are 1-4 at home. I like that. That's my
I like that.
I like the over a lot in that game. I'm going to stick with the Giants and Eagles. I put it on the bet show. I want to double down on this show for consistency. The line's gone up. It was -3 Philadelphia. Now it's -4. Take that, run with it. I don't know how the Giants score points anymore with Daniel Jones. You know Daniel Jones since he entered the NFL, 49 touchdowns, 49 giveaways. Unbelievable. He is so atrocious at the quarterback position. Saquon Barkley is a shell of himself. And I like what Nick Sirianni's doing with Philadelphia. I don't think they're a great team by any means, but they know what they aren't, and they lean on their strength, which is running the football. They're number 2 right now, rushing the NFL. I think they win by double digits. Again, one team's trending one way, the other team's trending to a complete and total rebuild. Philadelphia is just fun. They're fast. They've got a lot of supremely gifted young athletes, Miles Sanders. So, yeah, I'm excited.
I like low tone component. Comment saying Kyle Banana Hands got his team playing hard. Go ahead.
I'm just so confused. A lot of people are taking the Giants in this game. I know it's
still the Giants.
I know, but it's one of these games where I feel like it's going to be a trap or something. Something weird's going to happen. I'm still picking the Eagles in that game, but yeah, I don't know. I'm just a little worried. My lock is I also said this on the bet show. This line has moved towards the Pittsburgh Steelers. It's the Steelers at the Bengals.
Yeah.
The line was +4.5 on Friday. It's now +3.5.
I thought that was +2 now.
It's down to +2.
2.5, I thought.
Whatever it is, I'm going to sprinkle some money on the money line for the Steelers. I think the Steelers win this game outright. The Bengals are trending down. I just don't trust this team, and the Steelers are playing their best football of the entire year right now. Yeah, I would tease it probably up to +4 again, or +3.5 if you can't find it there. But I like them covering and ultimately winning the game.
How about the drops? Go ahead, Shane. You start.
Probably there's a lot of division games this week. The one game
Is there a lot of division games?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
The one game I'm staying away from is the Chargers and the Broncos.
He's looking at me. I was like, wait a minute. I can think of 3 games that are
It's like a division game, maybe.
What? No, it's not. We'll go over this after the show. I'll pull this up. Anyway, it's the Chargers and the Broncos.
Yeah.
I don't like that game. The Chargers need to get right now. So yeah, I'm staying away from that.
Somehow the LA Rams are -2 at Green Bay. I don't have a good feeling about the game one way or the other. I keep getting asked on Twitter, should we be rooting for the Packers as Cardinal fans? Should we be rooting for Rams? I would say, Green Bay, they've already beaten the Cardinals. Let the chips fall where they may with that. I want to bury the Rams and Matthew Stafford, who, by the way, has a broken kind of back and elbow situation going on. They're not really broken. He's just banged up. But I don't know how the Rams, they're off a bye week. They're favored at Green Bay. Do you really think Matthew Stafford's going to go in there at -2 and get the job done? But then the Packers have a bunch of injuries. So they're out. Bakhtiari's hurt again. He's had a surgery, so cleanup surgery. I don't like either team right now.
I love when you
What's
call
going
yourself-
on? Like text? Are you texting each other? What's going on?
No.
There's 4 division games out of the 11 games today.
A lot going
There's
on.
a lot of
That's more than. Okay. I love when you catch yourself in a lie, Johnny. I love when you say everything so matter of fact, and then you're like, he's not actually. That's not broken.
But you talk about like a broken player. Like Stafford's look like trash
Yeah,
the
but you
last
said
2
he has a
weeks.
broken back.
He does basically. His back's broken.
Mike
He
Tyson
needs a
now?
backiotomy.
He's Mike Tyson plays for the Rams now. Cool. That was my drop of the week.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
a game I don't want to touch because I don't know what the hell's going to happen.
Mhm.
They're calling Aaron Rodgers' toe injury COVID. I like.
You thought that was funny.
I thought that was pretty hilarious. I was like, that's well played. But they also might be without Aaron Jones. The Rams on the road, you just never know what you're going to get. It's going to be cold weather. It might be snowing. So it's a little bit of a mixed bag. And if you're talking about, a bad back, what's the worst thing for a bad back? Cold weather.
Yep.
So
Punch it, Green Bay. Get in there.
Yeah. Well, I actually am pulling for the Rams today.
Why?
Because if the Rams beat the Packers, then that drops them one more game behind the Cardinals. It gives them a 2-game edge. And the Cardinals still have a matchup with the Rams so they can control their own destiny. They don't play the Packers.
And I
for
think
the
that's the
season.
biggest thing for the Cardinals is not playing at Lambeau in the playoffs.
Yes.
That is the biggest thing because they can play anywhere else. But Lambeau in the playoffs, it's cold. They're just really good at home, and it's so hard to beat the Packers in the playoffs when they're at home.
Do they even have a cold weather game outside of Chicago?
No.
That's about it,
That's
right?
it.
Maybe
Which, by
Dallas
the way, will be
in
there.
January is a
little dicey. They have a
chilly.
ton of home games here in the second half of the season. Now, you would think that's good news, but they haven't played particularly well, that being the Cardinals at home this year. We'll see. I just think that with this Rams team, you want to bury their hopes. I want them to feel like they're not in contention for the division. And the Cardinals are already in a position where I think at 4-0, the best the Rams can do is tie them for a division record. So they would have to leapfrog the Cardinals and win percentage. They lose today. I don't think that's possible.
Agreed. All right. Well, let's move along to our final segment of the day, which is Get Off My Lawn, presented by Burger Travel Club, our fantastic partners over there at Burger Travel. Please reach out to them because we have a huge blowout going up. The block party coming up on December 13th for said Rams game, which is here in about 2 short weeks. Man, this season is moving along really fast.
Yeah.
But anyway, the block party, if you go to burgertravel.com, you can check it out and you can buy yourself a ticket. We're expecting at least 500 people there. It's going to be insane. It's going to be fun. So please join us there. And as a reminder, buy your tickets fast, because if you don't buy them early, I couldn't. I was like, where's the hamster's in there, but he's got a broken leg. Yeah, it was my back. Yeah. Anyway, buy your tickets early, because if you wait till you get to the gate, you're probably going to pay an extra 20 or 30 bones, and you don't want to do that.
No.
So anyway, Get Off My Lawn. I teased it a little bit earlier, but the Cardinals. I was driving in today and I was listening to ESPN, and they talked about Super Bowl favorites, and they listed off, they said, hey, give us 3 favorites from each division or from each conference. In the AFC, it was your typical, basically it was Bills, Chiefs, Ravens.
Ravens?
Yeah,
a lot of people are high on them right now.
Yeah.
Oh my
In the
God.
NFC, one of the hosts said it was Bucks, Rams, Packers in that order, and nobody else is even close. And then another host said, well, I actually have the Cardinals. And the disparity and the reason why the guy didn't have the Cardinals in his top 3 was strictly because of Cliff Kingsbury and only Cliff Kingsbury, which does not make any sense. So I pose this question to you. I kind of know where you're at, Johnny, but I want you to tell me why the Cardinals can win the Super Bowl and who they might face in the Super Bowl. So who is your AFC pick if you had to pick today?
Sure as hell not the fucking Ravens.
Okay.
That's
right.
the fact that they said that just tells you everything. No. There's no credibility for not picking the Cardinals. It just doesn't make sense. In the AFC, there's a couple teams that are trending up. Obviously, the Chiefs are starting to play well. Every year, their defense just starts ramping up around this time. I think it would be a shocker if the Chiefs didn't make the AFC Championship again. I don't know. The Bills, there's just so many teams that you're finding out about that are frauds in the AFC right now. It's hard to say anybody else but the Chiefs.
Yeah, I will double down and say Kansas City as well, just because they've been to 2 consecutive Super Bowls, and I don't buy the Bills at all. I think they plateaued last year. I can't buy Mac Jones as a rookie going to the Super Bowl out dueling Patrick Mahomes. And I like Baltimore. I don't love them. The rationale as to why the Cardinals will get to a Super Bowl and potentially win it, you have to have 2 things historically to do that. Elite quarterback play, which they have, and an elite pass rush. Chandler Jones is playing better lately. They're going to have 2 edge rushers right now. Watching Buffalo, for instance, last week, Buffalo's leading sacker on the team, I think, has like 4 or 5 sacks, right? The Cardinals, both edge rushers by the end of the season are going to be somewhere, Marcus Golden and Chandler Jones, between 12 to 15 sacks. That's a recipe for sustained success. You protect your quarterback, have elite quarterback play, and get after their quarterback. If they can do that better than anybody, they have as good a shot as anyone at winning the Super Bowl. But I am not surprised by the disrespect because we've seen it all year, and frankly, the Cardinals play better when they're disrespected like that.
Well, I mean, and that's we were just talking about this on the Sun show last night. It's just the national disrespect for really 2 of the top teams in their leagues.
Yeah.
The Suns at the top of their league, right there next to the Warriors, which big game on Tuesday, by the way. And then you have the Cardinals, who are 9-2 at top of the NFL, one of the best records, period. And just you don't fluke your way to 9 wins. You just don't.
No.
And you don't fluke your way to 9 wins in 11 games for sure. So, this thought that the Cardinals somehow are just getting lucky, every single road win by double digits, that's not a fluke. That's an ass whooping. That's
historic.
That's a team that's prepared to play on the road. And those are typically the teams, if we were talking about Tom Brady and the Patriots or the Bucks right now and how dominant they've been on the road, we'd be talking about, well, this is just because that's what they do. They're the great, Tom Brady, this is what he does. He's got this veteran experience and blah, 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 all this other bullshit. But when it comes to the Cardinals, it's like, we'll wait and see. And you can't move the goalposts. It's got to be, something has to be a common thread, and I think that common thread is consistency and the way you are stacking your program and running your organization. And I think the Cardinals have really rebounded from where they were 3 years ago with the Steve Wilkes era and really flourished in these last couple, really this last year and a half with Cliff Kingsbury. And I think it's going to be, if the Cardinals are going to get there, I think it's going to be a combination of not only the defense playing a little bit higher than expectations, but I also think eventually we're going to see Kyler Murray be undoubtedly a top 3 quarterback at some point during this phase. Kind of like when Kurt Warner and the Cardinals got to the Super Bowl, how just unbelievably efficient he was during that run. And it just kind of came out of nowhere. And I think we're going to see something like that from Kyler. In the AFC, I know you hate it, but I think if there's one team that could stop the Chiefs, if there's one team that could stop the Bills, it would be the Baltimore Ravens.
I think the Patriots are way
no,
more
Mac
likely.
Jones,
Mac Jones ain't taking anybody to the Super Bowl.
Dink-a-dunk Jones.
Yeah, and everybody they love to hype up the Patriots because of the way they lost to the Bucks. Outside of that, who the hell have they beat?
They've beaten a lot of Cleveland's. They've beaten the Jets.
Yeah.
Their division is suddenly really bad again. Like Miami's awful. Let's just it's a nice story for them to be competitive and probably make the playoffs again this year.
They're frauds.
You have to have an elite playmaker at quarterback, and it's Mahomes, it's Lamar, it's Josh Allen. Those are the contenders in the AFC.
The Ravens are too banged up. I just don't see it.
The Patriots are going to lose to the fucking Titans today. And the Titans have no business beating the
Patriots have one and done in the playoffs written all over them.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. Anyway, as a reminder, if you're going to bet on any of these games today, make sure that you go to the DraftKings Sportsbook app. As I said earlier, the DraftKings Sportsbook app, where customers can also get skin in the game with the new same-game parlays, combine multiple bets from the same game for a bigger payout. So if you like any of our props, you can combine those all for one nice big payout, which is kind of nice. DraftKings is safe, secure, and reliable. Best of all, you can deposit and withdraw your cash wherever you want. Download DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use promo code PHNX. Bet $1 on any team to score and win $100 in free bets. If they score, you score with promo code PHNX. As a reminder, 21 and over, Arizona only. Gambling problem, call 1-800-NEXT-STEP. Next, new customers only. Eligibility, I always screw that up. Eligibility restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. Gents, do we have anything else to add?
No, you mentioned the Suns, and that's interesting. I was talking to Leah before the show. It's like, is this a Suns town or a Cardinals town? I think right now it's a Suns town because they're going to a different level. I think the Cardinals are experiencing what the Suns had last year where they were doubted all year. Mm-hmm. And now the Suns, people are like, this is not a fluke. They went to the NBA Finals. They could have and probably should have won the NBA Finals. And now they're back with one of the best records in the NBA. I think the Cardinals are a year behind the Suns, and I think it's a Suns town right now.
Well, I if you ask anybody, the long timers here in this state, they will say that since the Suns are the original franchise here, it's always been a Suns town. Like when the Suns are popping, there's just not very much like it. Mm-hmm. There just isn't. And it's like the one team that kind of unifies the whole valley. Whereas the Cardinals, the thing with the Cardinals and the thing that they've always had to battle, and I lived this when they first got here. I was 9 years old when they first got here, and it was like before then we didn't have Cardinals. Who did we watch? It was basically either the Raiders or it was the Cowboys. And when you go see those two specific teams play here locally, that's why there's such a large contingent of those fan bases, because those were the two more accessible teams on local TV. Because remember, back in the day, we didn't have Sunday Ticket. We didn't have any of that stuff. Yeah. It was just, whatever was on Fox or it wasn't even Fox at the time. It was just CBS, ABC, NBC. Fox wasn't even relevant until I don't know, maybe a decade after the Cardinals were here. Mm-hmm. So it's a big shift, and it takes a couple decades for that shift to take place. And now you're starting, like my kids are all Cardinals fans because that's what they were born into. You're starting to see that around the valley. So it's going to take some time for the Cardinals to actually get the love here locally that the Suns do when they're hot. And we're about to see that, right? We're about to see.
I think we're very close.
We might see in January and February, we might see two teams at their absolute peak. And this state is going to go nuts. Mm-hmm. And it's, dude, could we have launched PHNX at a better time?
Exactly. It's so fun to be an Arizona sports fan right now. Yeah. We are so pampered by these teams. It's amazing. And there's no better time to come join us and the Sun Show, because the Sun Show has been so fun lately. Last night was a blast. So if you haven't tuned into that, be sure to watch it after every game.
I feel like the Suns are a little bit cooler nationally. They have cooler uniforms, right? They've got players that I think people know. I think the Cardinals, like, people love Kyler Murray and DeAndre Hopkins, but like aesthetically, it's hard for people to wrap. Like the Seahawks, to their credit, like went through a culture shift and like changed their image and changed their uniforms. The Cardinals need to do that. I think they will after this season, but I think that people still look at those uniforms and the bird on the helmet, and they're just like, you can't be good. This is not allowed. And that's a stigma they'll have to get over.
I could see that. Yeah. I can see that. And you hope that, the Bidwells, obviously it's up to Michael Bidwell now. Yeah. Now that Bill Bidwell is gone, R.I.P. For him to understand that, if you make even just a subtle change like that, it can have enormous ramifications for not only the Valley, but nationwide.
Yeah.
You know, I've seen more Seahawks jerseys in the last 10 to 15 years than I had my entire life before that. And my grandpa was a Seahawks fan. He gifted me a Seahawks jacket before he passed away.
Wow.
And I never saw Seahawks fans. I went to Seahawks games when they were playing the Cardinals. Never saw Seahawks fans. Now you see it all over the time because it's not only people supporting the team, but it's cool to wear their stuff.
Yeah.
You know, they got great colors and, you know, it's fun. I think the Cardinals need something like that. You saw it with the Suns too last year. Those Valley jerseys were off the hook.
Those were awesome.
And they really tracked and it really captivated this whole city and the state for that matter. And people wanted to, they wanted to rep their team. So hopefully the Cardinals will get on board with that because I do feel like that is the one missing link.
It is. It absolutely is.
I love that take, yeah.
For sure. Well, thank you so much for joining us on the PHNX Tailgate. We will see you next time. Have fun watching all these games and all these division games apparently today.
This loaded division slate.
Bye-bye.
I literally said there's a good amount of division games. You guys can go fuck yourself. Goodbye.